welcome to Plus One to Gaming. I'm Chris.
And I'm Eric.
I'm Billy.
And I'm Mark.
And we are jumping into our second session of a Deep in Creeping Darkness Star Wars 5e adventure. Mark, do you want to take us back into your escape pod and shoot us off into space of whimsy and adventure?
I would love to. If you will all think back to our last session, you may remember some of the following details. In your last adventure, toward a deep and creeping darkness, you each found your way to Fee Diovir's office. He is the general manager or GM of Destoga Deepcore Galactic. He informed you of the financial state of the company and its efforts to sell down basically every loose asset so they could fund your next mission. He impressed upon you how important it was since they were selling everything off and the company's kind of in a bad shape. You got paid out for your last assignment, even though it was kind of canceled abruptly when you were called back. He also introduced you to a mysterious outlander whom he didn't even really seem to trust, but he needed his input in order to track down the location of the only written account of a lost mine. This outlander said that he could track this story because when people read it, it shows up on the force flow. So he tracked down the last known location of the book. The outlander dove into the minds of Bidu and Aurick, and they both saw flashes of their life play out as if they were reliving them. The outlander saw those scenes as well, and he felt their pains and their fears and translated it into his Book of Woe. With the pages completely filled with other such ritual sacrifices, Fee seemed confident that this Book of Woe would be your ticket to finding the mark. He told you, as you were finishing up your debrief, that the story has been told so many times and luckily been written down, which is not common for the types of things DDG investigates. But luckily that gives you the title. The story is known as A Deep and Creeping Darkness. Fee asked you to find it, analyze the text, and report back via holocall if you find anything that seems remotely plausible. So you are in Fee's office. As you pack up, you're adjusting your armor, calibrating gears, grabbing your axes. You turn around and notice on the wall there's a bulletin board. At the top it says, DDG needs you. It features a picture of an old man. He's kind of cartoonishly smirking. He's pointing his finger in your direction. Beneath that is written credos or credits, your choice. There's a list of tasks and corresponding bounties offered to eligible DDG mercenaries and employees on the board. The far right column is a list of many more times credo points that are available for the same tasks. Credo points are an internal bartering chip, and it's bought and sold by DDG Corporate Bank and Faith. It's usually way too much work to keep track of these shifting assignments, but Bidu does remember this system of credos and credits from his last few assignments smuggling low-grade mining bits through the astral belt of Tarbian 2. He was able to score an extra 10 credits just by happenstance once, but fuck the credos, because that's how you end up as an indentured servant. Chris, you can have the optional offer of the starting inspiration if you want to give us a description of Bidu's perspectives, feelings, or kind of what he was thinking during the last session as a personal recap.
I think he's looking at this poster and he kind of chuckles to himself and says, "No da wa yin zhou zuin mo sai." And he kind of sighs because what he says is, well, I guess that would have been a nice way to make some extra scratch. It's too bad the company went under and can't pay for anything anymore. And then as he thinks back to what happened after the, I guess like, I don't know if shock is like a right word, but like it was kind of like a disturbing or weird experience. He looks at those feelings more objectively and kind of like removed from himself. and just accepts them as they are and just kind of resolves himself and kind of goes back to his more linear scientific mode of thinking. So like kind of like focusing himself for the task ahead.
Cool. I love that. You can have your inspiration.
Thanks. Is that an accurate read on the situation though? Like there's this bounty board, but like this company just told us they're basically flat broke.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. These are contractual obligations, so if the company were solvent, they would make good on them.
Okay, he'll take a look at them and commit them to memory.
Okay, cool. So you see there's some for if you can send good stories in to the monthly DDG newsletter. You can earn credits or credos for those. There's some bounties on different planets for clearing wildlife in advance of mining operations. Most of those have been canceled out because, as you know, they've canceled most ongoing projects. And the one that's most interesting is that there's one that is always there. It's a persistent offer, and it is a bounty for any vein strikes an employee might be able to find. And the value of that is a percent of the total gross.
Cool. Bidu takes a mental snapshot of those.
Okie doke. So that's you guys, you do that as everybody's getting ready and kind of filing out to go to the transport. So you guys jump on, you blast off and head to your next location, which is the coordinates offered from the Outlander of the last place he believes someone read A Deep and Creeping Darkness.
So are we on one of those, like the ships that basically we came back to, like just one, like a junkie ship?
Yeah, so this is a DDG transport, so it's a bit bigger than the ships you guys were given as individuals, more made for transporting soldiers, or originally soldiers, but now, goods and employees. So it's kind of got some jump seats in the back and a pilot, co-pilot seat up front. So you are all in the back. It's being piloted by probably, you assume, the last pilot DDG has, since Fee was so intent on firing people and saving money. The DDG transport, it bursts through the atmosphere of a planet and descends a bit shakily towards the ground. You can see out portholes near you in the back that it's a populated area. You see some buildings, and the ship circles over a sizable, large stone building. You can see the lavender leaves of the trees on the ground sway as the engine exhaust blasts past them. Some of the petals float and fitter past the striped purple and white ashen bark of the trunks of those trees before landing in pale green streams. Aurick takes in the scope of the structure and the surroundings from above as you swoop by, glimpsing between walls, down alleyways, and things that she can see as kind of the perspective shifts in the ship. It looks like the Outlander hasn't sent you into a vast barren wasteland, so that's good. She's relieved that it seems like a more established area, seems confident that she'll be able to remember streets and navigate easily here. Aurick describes what she can see to the others.
Well, it looks like there's at least a place where we can all get a drink. Looks like they sent us to a little city of some sort. I thought we were going to be out in ruins and jungles.
Yes, this is much better than I could have expected.
Maybe we could hit up some of the locals and ask around. I wasn't really looking forward to just trekking some book through the forest, but asking people, that's usually the way to go.
Yeah, drink sounds nice too.
So Aurick and everyone else can see there's quite a bit of people kind of milling about below. A voice pipes over the comlink. It gives the pilots instructions to proceed to landing pad 8. You guys land and disembark. The pilot exchanges some professional pleasantries. The pilot's going to go talk to the starport captain here to negotiate fuel prices. you walk out into the spaceport and you see a large stone arch hiding a bridge.
Just a quick like housekeeping thing. While we were landing, as a ritual, Bidu was casting his Find Droid spell and also Comprehend Languages.
Okay, cool. What does Find Droid do?
It's basically Find Familiar. So he's got a little floaty like probe droid, kind of like one of those little circle spheres that Jedi use to train lightsaber training. And it's basically like the owl stat block.
Cool. I like that. Okay, so you guys, you've got, let's see, RX, Bidu's got his little droid floating around. You guys are walking down to the stone arch. You see that the bridge is crossing a pale green stream. It flows pleasantly fast and leads to the high ramparts of the stone building you passed over, decorated with banners that are flapping when the wind picks up. The bridge is quite busy. In between the sounds of the pleasantly fast-running water and the crowd, it's a little bit difficult to hear. All right, so bridge is a little bit busy. There's pleasantly fast-running water. Closest to you, there's a hitching post for Beast. There's a Lizardian mount. He's chomping on a feed bag full of swamp rats. Its owner sits idly by. He seems disinterested in hawking his own handmade jewelry to a local woman. There's a few soldiers that are marching in formation near you. They're coming away from the gates. The man in front calls out the steps, and each soldier smacks his boots to the pavement in unison with his call. RX beeps and boops out ahead of you. The soldiers are keeping their stride. They don't have any regard for RX's curiosity. The mech is kind of directly in their path, though. A bit further back, you see people waiting in like maybe a makeshift line or a queue of some sort. There's a couple beings in white robes, and there's a protocol droid that shines in the sunlight, causing you to squint every so often when he gesticulates because sun rays catch off his metal skin. A kid runs by holding a severed head, laughing, ducking between legs, and darting off.
What kind of severed head is this child?
Yeah,
carrying?
severed head of what?
Give me a perception check.
I never remember how to open my character sheet.
Yeah, I have mine like floating, which is helpful.
I did, but then I closed it.
Okay. So Gupt recognizes, because he is, trained in martial arts of all sorts in battle, he can tell that there's something really weird about this severed head. It just doesn't look right. And it doesn't make him feel strange or like that any actual violence or anything has occurred. Aurick and RX and Bidu and Gupt, actually everybody, you can hear the kid. He runs off into the distance and he's kind of chanting. And he says, "There can only be two. There can only be two. Could one be me? Could one be you?" When he finishes the chant, he kind of drops into a low stance. His ill-fitting black and red robes are like piling up around his feet. And Gup can see that like this pose is silly and childish. Anybody who knows how to fight can tell that this is like not threatening at all. But the kid seems really intense, and he lifts this severed head up to his face and he peers into its eyes. There's like veiny viscera dangling like rope from the neck. The pupils are painted on the papier-mâché eyes at odd angles, and a braid of woven tree scratch comes loose from the wire mesh where the boy's holding this bundle of hair in a large clump. The head kind of bobbles suddenly, which seems to scare him a little bit, and he scurries off to pull out an artisan kit and repair his prop. A passerby chuckles and flips him a credit chit. RX is booping around on the bridge, isn't super interested in the humanoid kid, but what is he up to? He's on this new planet, and the ramparts on the bridge.
I think RX is pretty used to us kind of being blasted off and landing on strange planets. So he's scanning around looking for... He's trying to make like a map an internal map of where we are, where we've been, what we're looking at, things like that. So he's scanning things, and what might be considered, like you said, curiosity is really him kind of gathering data that we may end up needing later. So he's just kind of rolling around and looking at stuff and taking inventory, if as you will.
Okay, so he's kind of in the zone doing his little scans, and he doesn't really pay attention to those soldiers that were marching towards him, and they're in formation so they don't break stride. The man in front continues the march, and as they kind of get on top of RX and closer to you guys, RX dodges out of the way, noticing that they're right there, and the captain stops up short. Aurick, you realize, since RX is kind of ahead of you, this is happening, a bit distance from you. This brings to your attention that you have some regalia and uniform pieces from your time in the military as a recruit.
Yeah, her vest is still like a standard issue, like cadet kind of, or training vest. Not necessarily. It's not dress blues or anything like that. It's like what they would wear kind of out in the field.
Okay, cool. So the captain, kind of stops up at the droid, goes, "Soldiers, halt! Move out of the way, droid. Whose droid is this? We're doing routine tracks here. You're in the way."
RX would be smart enough. He understands them, so he scoots out of the way, and RX will step forward a little bit. And he's mine. He don't mean no harm.
No harm done. We're just getting these recruits out, trying to get them in the swing of things. What you got there, soldier? He kind of looks over your uniform, recognizes that you've served in the past. You reporting for duty here?
Oh, not anymore. Y'all wouldn't want me anyway with my bum leg.
Bum leg. How do you mean?
Put the spill out of a starship going landside. Twisted it pretty bad. Doesn't work too well anymore. Got to be propped up with this device. So I can't be marching with y'all.
See there. All right. How long were you in the service there, recruit?
Just long enough for them to give me this fancy vest.
They gave you that fancy vest. They give you any discharge papers with it, perchance?
Oh yeah, I got all my DDs.
All right. Well, hopefully we didn't do too much harm to you there. I always hate to see a good soldier not make it to the field, but this is the place. If you decide you need to work on anything or get back in the swing of it, you can always report to the captain here and reinstate yourself. But
so I ain't looking to re-enlist. I don't think, like I said, I don't think you'd take me. I don't think I could do all the marching, but I am here on business. Me and my friends here, we were hired to find an object, an item for an employer. Do y'all know where I could ask around and maybe find somebody to help this job be a little easier?
Well, we're heading out on patrol, but you can always talk to the gate attendants up there, and they'll help you out, I guess. But we've got to secure the area for the festival coming up, and we're headed out. But you can check with them. All right, soldiers, move on. It's a nice droid you got there, soldier. Keep safe.
Yeah. Thanks, boys.
They march on. So you guys head, you can continue on down the bridge, but Bidu, your passive perception's so high that you are the first to recognize the banners that are flying on the building. You recognize that these are, in fact, a symbol of a band of Force wielders who call themselves Jedi. You know they consider themselves to be champions of justice and peace. You also know they have a great capacity to inflict deadly harm that is often self-justified. Jedi answer only to other Jedi. They have a complicated guild comprised of shifting mentorships and allegiances. Although they are highly tolerant of the variety of species and abilities found throughout the galaxy, the Jedi relegate all positions of power to Force wielders, who pledge absolute allegiance to a mysterious code of conduct. You know your companions would soon recognize the symbol, and you remember that Gupt is a bit uneasy around the Outlander and Force Wielders in general.
Yeah, I think doing like some risk mitigation calculations, maybe he comes to the conclusion that maybe pointing this out ahead of time would be better than finding out in the middle of a conversation or something. So he nudges Gupt gently and says, "Zingba Gupt do baba ning do pun Jedi wingon dunyam Force Wielder." And he says, "Hey Gupt, up ahead is a group of Force Wielders known as Jedi. Just wanted to let you know."
I don't think Gupt understands Rhodian. So all he understood was Force Wielder and Jedi, and he tenses up at that moment, and he stands a little bit more combative. He puts his axe in his hand and turns to Bidu, and he's like, and he like snorts. And Bidu, since he can understand languages, he understands that snort means like understood and thanks.
Bidu nods.
Whoa, boys, be cool. We need to figure out where we're going before we get sliced down by these laser swords.
Yeah, trust me, I have no intention of getting cut up by a lightsaber.
Let's just keep a low profile, find this book, and get out of here.
Bodai.
So you proceed down to the end of the bridge past the people you saw lined up. Bidu can hear some sniveling and crying. There's some hushed tones. He can tell that people are feeling anxiously. Gupt is now actively searching for threats. He's a bit on edge. He's looking around cautiously. He sees a group of some religious fanatics off to the left. They look to him like some kind of dirty Force Wielder wannabes that are praying. There's a giant species of some sort. It looks malnourished and not a big threat. He could easily decimate everybody there. He notices there's some kind of pipsqueak up on the walkway. There's a Wookiee. But other than that hairy beast, there's nothing that looks intimidating. There aren't even guards for these weaker people outside, which seems foolish to him.
So as he walks forward, he snorts a little bit more, and Bidu understands that as no threats present. Continue.
That's cool. I like that. You pass by the people in line. There's a girl who's crying. Her mother's kind of patting her on the back. Torasimi na, mimimi na, isutora. You don't really understand that language, but you can tell when a mother's comforting her child. She shuffles her way and shoots kind of a sidelong glance over her shoulder towards the protocol droid. The protocol droid speaks. We do encourage you to return with adequate materials. Should you find anything of actual interest to the Order, please do return post-haste. Ah, well met, travelers. A brief sojourn as we check your credentials. Here for the festival season, are we? Yes, a popular time at Jedi Keep. Enjoy yourself. Just don't lose your braid, as the masters say.
Aurick walks up and shows our landing credentials, I don't know, manifest, whatever. And she says, we ain't gonna be here that long. I think we're just here for some business. Is there a town lore master or maybe even an innkeeper that we're looking for something?
Yes, inside Jedi Keep, we have all sorts of merchants and scholars of every type. The Jedi Order keeps very good records, as well as a wide variety of shops and people with different abilities in order to increase our spread in the galaxy. Your landing permits look in order. In order to enter Jedi Keep during the festival season, we ask that you bring a book or tome. Holocrons are also accepted. If you have anything to donate, we'll take a look at it and make sure it reaches the exacting standards of our Jedi scholars.
Aurick turns to the group and does a little sidebar. Looks like we're going to have to grease some palms to get through here. They want books or some sort of tribute paid. Y'all got anything? We didn't know we were going to do this, so I don't really have much.
Bidu thinks for a moment. 宁信妈妈若巴拉 Vigno nin tanzai. He could provide some research notes from back when he was a scientist. They're of his original like thoughts and studies, so they would be a unique piece.
That might be as good as anything we got. I got like some training notes from when I was a cadet, but I don't think that those are that interesting to them. And then some notes on my collars, but again, that ain't anything that they're going to care about. So that might be our best bet.
Bidu looks at Gupt. Gupt dobongawa non ting romanasai. Do you have anything that you could contribute?
So, Gupt remembers that he, as the leading security officer for this DDG mission, he is also responsible for the safety of physical objects. He was given by Fidovir the Book of Woe.
Gup turns towards Bidu, nods, reaches into his back, and kind of points towards the Book of Woe, keeping it sheltered from the eyes of this protocol droid that seems very familiar and friendly with the Jedi. But he does not trust these guys enough to give them the book.
Yeah, I think we're supposed to keep that too. I don't think they're going to be wanting us to give that away.
Yeah,
he puts it back in his back.
Bidu,
yeah, and he...
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. What did Gup do?
He puts the book back into his bag and just for safekeeping again.
Nice. Bidu knows that you can't like bribe a droid, so he'll present his research notes.
Excellent. Let me review quickly. The protocol droid IT2, that's his name. He uses his eye scanners to snap pictures of some of the things and run them against a database. He'll also take the offering from Aurick and do the same. Dear me, no good at all. See here, appearing throughout are intermittent references, but anything directly of importance to the story of the Order, I don't believe there's much content here. Should you find anything of more actual interest to the Order, please do return post-haste.
Bidu sighs. Don't ba ma. Book of Woe ba nia ning dam boom ba Jedi.
Gup turns towards the protocol droid, snorts, and I'm assuming the protocol droid can understand all those languages, so he completely understands. And he says, if you think that books are the only and best keeper of knowledge, you are dumber than I thought. This Jedi Order is foolish.
Could you snort that too? I like it when Gup snorts.
If you don't have it already, take inspiration for your snorts. The protocol droid speaks. Yes, well put. Personally, I believe circuitry holds most knowledge, and in a much smaller, more compact form at that. However, it is the season of the festival, which means that we need donations that have value to the story of the Order for you to proceed. Otherwise, well, the rest of these people who have donated would lose some of the festival spirit.
He says, my knowledge is an experience. Would you like to tell me how a Force Wheeler murdered all of my companions in the blink of an eye? Does that assist?
A Force Wielder in battle? Perhaps. However, it would need to be written down in order to be donated to the archive where we keep all of our stories. But yes, I think stories along those lines might be of interest. The scholars may be able to glean techniques or other important lore.
So Gupt is now thinking. I mean, this could help them get in and complete the mission. He may want to put his experience is down on paper, but he knows firsthand that power is experience, and experiences are knowledge, and he doesn't want to give these force wielders any advantage from sharing his experiences. They didn't experience it, he did. He should have the rewards and the knowledge gained from this experience, not whoever happens to run across this knowledge.
Is Gupt sharing this like internal monologue with the group at all? Because I feel like knowing the reason why, like at least we could play off of that. But if it's just like internal monologue, but I also don't want to force you to how you're playing your character.
No, it's he's thinking about it, but he does mention it and asks the droid like experience. Basically, what he said, like, why should I share this experience with you? Why should you gain? What do I gain? Why should I teach you from my life experiences that you have not gone through?
Truth be told, good sir, I have very little interest in your knowledge. I simply run the gate. But to put a more direct answer to you, entry would be your reward. A kind of grumbly man who's been waiting in line pipes up, "Boy, I've been traveled 3 days, been waiting hours. Can we move along here? Can you examine my scrolls next?"
Gupt boga, ning dong tumba, zimama di aborasa. He says to Gupt, keep your valuable experience to yourself. They're not deserving of it. That book is just filled with tales of people's sad moments. There's no real valuable experience in there. If we give that old dusty book to them, we can get inside and get what we need.
The crowd is kind of getting behind the grumpy man, and they're crowding a little bit. It's starting to get a little loud.
Gupt turns around and unslings his axe from his thing and just gives him a death stare, the guy behind him. And then casually swings that axe down to the ground while he digs through his bag, retrieves the book, and then turns towards the protocol droid. And, you are not worthy of my knowledge, but this knowledge should suffice.
It's okay. Yeah, no, I understand. The man kind of takes a step back, and majority of the crowd kind of gets in line back to him, behind him, because they don't want to lose their spot either. When you swing your axe off of your shoulder to intimidate him, because you're still on high alert, when you turn back to hand the book over, you notice that the puny guy and the Wookiee seem to have noticed, and they've walked closer to where you are, but are still on the walkway.
It was threatening at the time, but then he set it down, like leaning it against with the head of the axe. So it's in a non-threatening manner again. It was just, he kind of took it off his shoulder into his hands, and then kind of is leaning on it when he's, digging through his bag so he can use both hands. So it was like he's not in a threatening position anymore, but he definitely notices that these guys go up there, and he snorts and turns to Bidu and tells Bidu, maybe there are threats here that I have not considered. These force wheelers are sneaky and not trustworthy.
We shall keep our eyes and ears open.
The protocol droid takes the book. Ah, yes, okay. One more tome. We'll let you try again here. He snaps a few more pictures and considers for a moment. Well, yes, I think there's enough references here that these may be worth passing on to the scholars. So he takes the book. It passes his litmus test, and he hands it to one of the Jedi Temple scholars who is standing there. They're long-necked hammerhead Ithorians wearing white robes that are quite brilliant. So the scholar flips through the pages. He's kind of running his hands over the books. He gets to the end, and he's really concentrating, and there's a few lines that start to slip out as he's reading. He seems highly suspicious. He kind of glances at you guys as he's reading, and Bidu can see that his eyes are closed and notices he's kind of tracing the words with his hands. He doesn't seem to be reading the book as much as he is feeling it.
Chikavalong litaminom mula mira neosira. Unatinga tishtrecha. Miominaka tutsuku.
He reads, I stand with the full body of the atmosphere blasting around me, a pulling vortex that tugs at me, tells me to let go. 100 times I've stood on this precipice, and somehow, this time, I can feel looming pain. My leg aches as if it might gnaw itself away from me. If I stay, it might give way to my weight and send me toppling unexpectedly. If I go, I'm sure that it will. I step off into nothingness regardless. He pauses for a moment and then looks really pointedly at Aurick and seems a bit puzzled. He starts at the beginning of the next page. All around me are strange visages of myself. I see them milling about and they speak to me. I speak to them in turn, talk them down, but so many simply nod and continue as if the truth of myself was of no concern to them. But he was loved, they say, admired, they remind me. Investments were made, one mentions in passing, and what to show for it, another asks. Reason cannot stand them down. My best efforts fall on my own deaf ears. The scholar looks at Bidu and says,
Isamina bro, budasiva.
This is you, no?
Peter just looks at him and shrugs.
Isadonomina wasi ofiavina.
I can feel you here.
Minno mama, zimo, biduva. Yeah, of course, I'm right in front of you.
Sotikinoma nafaki, shishishav, gilutuzima.
I feel a truth of you, a darkness of sorts. It makes my fingers ache. He...
Biza zingo mama. Enough of these tricks. Is this sufficient for us to gain entry? Bidu's getting impatient because he feels like the more time they spend in front of these force wielders, the more like Gupt could be a potential ticking time bomb.
The second scholar says, uneasy are we. Uneasy, very uneasy. He uses the force to lift the book out of the first scholar's hands and kind of floats it over to himself. He does pretty much the same thing, kind of examining the book.
Chai, situkumi nafata.
I feel great value here, but it is dark. You notice that when the first scholar's hands become free of the book, he goes to work pulling out a string of pearlescent beads. And Bidu, you can hear a distinct chick sound of the beads being flipped over a knot in the rope and clicked together. You also notice when the second scholar takes the book, he brings his hands out from behind his back, and his robes are not only white, but they have a very brilliant gold kind of filigree design sewn into the hems that run down his sleeves and then down the sides of his robes.
Bidu takes all this information and just logs it.
The scholar says that there is dark energy here, and it is the energy of pain and suffering. It is the energy of the Sith.
Well, good then. That should be interesting to y'all, right? Can we get in now?
Gupt snorts and mumbles under his breath. These performances are less convincing than the small child's.
Hey, you have a little token. How'd you get a little token? Is that an inspiration?
This is an alignment token, which is just basically a visual reminder. The Jedi scholars see you as a group, and they believe that you are, all working together. And they also believe that the energy you've brought here is against them. So they don't believe that you're aligned with them. The second scholar seems pretty angry. The first scholar continues clicking his beads, and the second scholar says, you bring this here and figure that we do not know, that we don't see. It is the festival season, and we are on high alert. we've examined your documents here and see that they are the energy of the Sith. This was an arrogant and foolish thing to bring here, and he calls for guards.
Look, boys, we don't know nothing about that book. That was given to us by an employer. We're here to find some information. We don't know anything about your festivals or your hokey religions. We're just here to do a job.
Bing no mi maning Jedi Wingam the Book of Woe. Yes, if I recall correctly, it was one of your order who gave us this book in the first place.
Gupt just, as soon as the guards show up, he takes his axe, puts it in his hand, he readies, and he laughs. He snorts a little bit. This is ridiculous. Let's get this over with.
Bidu's blaster starts beeping and chiming. He feels the tactile feedback in his holster that kind of, because of the way it works, he can tell the relative direction that his weapon of warding is telling him about. And it points towards the gates where he sees that there have been guards. They were simply hidden away, and they are now rushing to the aid of the Jedi Temple scholars.
Oh, Napuru. Well, shit.
Look, boys, this ain't a fight we can win. I don't think we can blast our way through to get into this city. We need to back down and retreat.
I agree, but we were just talking, and then they sent guards in for no reason.
Stand down.
The captain of the guard runs up. He goes to the side of Gupt because he seems to be the biggest threat. So the captain of the guard stands near him. The other guard stands near Aurick. And the second guard does not speak common, so he's just speaking. They're both barking directions at you. It's hard to hear over the sound of the crowd. And the Ithorian scholar continues to kind of rant about the Force and your mistake, or what he thinks is a mistake.
So Gupt roars and snorts like loudly, as loudly as he can yell. It's like, you ask for a book, we give you a book, you disapprove, and now this? No, we will not be going anywhere with you.
Aurick looks at the scholar and says, look, our employer gave us that book, told us to come here to find something. You asked for it, we gave it to you. We don't know nothing about it. You're rushing up on my man back here, and he's a little unstable. I don't want any bloodshed. I don't want anybody to get hurt. Give me that book back. We'll be on our way.
You would take your book back and leave this place.
Yeah, I would. We would leave. Hang on, I'm gonna roll persuasion on this dude. Oh, my persuasion's not great. Is that cool? I don't want to tell you how to do it, but I'm trying to persuade him into getting us out of this situation.
Yeah, go for it.
Don't forget that you have inspo.
Have what?
Inspiration?
Oh, well, I rolled a 17, so I'm happy with that.
No, you rolled an 8.
Perception. You rolled 8 for persuasion.
Yeah, an 8.
What?
Yeah.
I thought it rolled twice. Yeah, I'll use my inspiration. Where is it? Persuasion. All right, better.
It's better.
Okay, so he recognizes the position that you're in, having been asked to present the book. However, does find you suspicious, and things continue to escalate. He starts giving orders to the guards. Interpreter 2 is attempting to help them communicate, although it doesn't go very well. The captain of the guard seems to be kind of losing control. He sparks his electro pike, and as he does, you see the Jedi that were on the walkway come rushing. They've been watching off.
Please tell me that Wookiee doesn't flip down below.
I need to change delete as my push to talk key. I keep deleting everything.
Control's a pretty good one.
I use Alt, and it works real good.
Alt's not bad. My keyboard has a bunch of extra buttons, too.
Tilde also works if you don't want to give up your Alt and Control for other things.
Oh, the old Swinton button.
Yeah.
The old Tilde Swinton.
Tilda Swinton. I actually do use Tilda when I'm playing Overwatch because Shift and Control and Alt and stuff do things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
I will say
does,
delete is
and I
probably...
end up alt tabbing out. At least one of the worst.
I would say delete's probably the lowest one I would choose.
It may be the absolute worst one you can use.
Space. Well, yeah. Anyways.
No, I don't think spacebar does anything on Roll20. I think delete or backspace is one of the only things that does something.
And something that you really don't want.
Okay, I changed it. Just waiting for the dog to stop barking. They've noticed all of this kerfuffle and have come rushing to the closest part of the ramparts above that they can, overhear everything. The scrawny one in robes climbs up on the ramparts and then jumps down, lands nearby with relative skill. The Wookiee, in a full-on sprint, launches himself into the air, throws one hand against the top of a stone pillar, launching himself into a full-on front flip, and lands directly in front of you and in front of the interpreter. He sparks his lightsaber, which is a brilliant blue color. You hear it crackle on with great force. The guards kind of shift to make room for him and surround you from behind more. He raises his lightsaber up into the air, and you see the hilt of it is a brilliant kind of gemstone orange and amber and cream swirling color. There's, platinum filigree as well. It's very ornate and beautiful. He screams a giant Wookiee roar when he throws the lightsaber up into the air, and a brilliant light blasts out, and everyone is blinded. You hear him roaring. You hear the clash of some pikes and other weaponry. There's a lot of yelling back and forth between the guards, and eventually you hear the captain break through.
Stand down, it is Barayaga.
The Wookiee... Okay, I keep thinking I'm going to try the Wookiee voice, and I'm just not going to. Just for the record. I know there's tension here, and I keep going off mic and trying it. It's just not going to work.
Do it.
See, it doesn't sound threatening enough. If there's a baby Wookiee in the future, I might voice him. The Wookiee makes demands of the interpreter and of the captain of what's happening here. The interpreter droid is able to give him kind of a rundown of what's been happening, and he determines that there's no need for the guards. He sends them back away, and he admonishes the scholar for being a bit overzealous. I'll give him a voice.
You say this book contains information of the dark side and stories of Sith pain and suffering. This is of great value to the Force and the Jedi. We must know how our enemies operate. I deem this book to be acceptable, despite its darkness. We have to understand, as the great masters say, that light always finds darkness waiting. These adventurers shall be given access under the privileges of myself. Sprig, come here, Padawan.
The blindness kinds of wears off, and you see that most of the guards and everyone else looks as stunned as you are and disoriented. You see the scrawny Jedi walk up to you, and he says, "Yes, sir, it's me, Sprig. How can I help?"
Take these adventurers inside. Give them access to what they need, and make apologies as well. You are to help them with their task and see them through Jedi Keep. If they need to speak with me or any else, you shall arrange it and help them in their quest.
Very good, sir.
Gupt is going to roll an insight check. He doesn't really believe anything that they say. So he wants to make sure that, these guys asked him to go with him, and now they're asking us to go with them also. So he doesn't trust them at all. So he's going to roll insight to see if it's just a ploy to avoid violence to get us to follow them. He doesn't know shit. Roll a 7.
That tracks, though, if you're not, your bias generally has you distrusting them.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
absolutely
so-
does not trust me.
You see that they have, the majority of them have put away their weapons. The guards have gone back to their post, but you don't feel much more comfortable than you did about their acceptance of you, or vice versa.
Gupt doesn't know if they understand his language. Well, he knows the interpreter droid does, but he's kind of far away. So he whispers to, or not whispers, but talks quietly to Bidu, because he can kind of translate Gamorrean. And he says that this peaceful order has already tried to accost us and introduce violence, and now we are supposed to go with them willingly.
Trust me, I don't like this any much more than you do. But if we do want to get paid for this, we just kind of have to suck up our pride a little bit.
It is, I'm sort of sorry for this misunderstanding. If you want to come with me, I can explain everything as we get you into Jedi Keep. It is the festival season, and we have instructed everyone to be on extra guard. Maybe they take it a little too seriously.
Mintu mama Gubt. Zingbobungyan Aurick. I think if we just keep eyes on each other's back, Gupt, you, me, and Aurick can get through this and get out of here as soon as possible.
Gupt nods, kind of mentions to him offhand that the quality and of these cards is lacking. This would be unacceptable anywhere I've worked at before.
Yes, but they have a Wookiee with a lightsaber.
Oh, I understand. I've seen what that lightsaber can do. I do not want to fight, but I will not die willingly on my knees in fear of this light weapon.
Yeah, I'm more of a runaway guy for myself. Wookiee's bad enough. One with a lightsaber is way worse.
As you walk in the gate, Buriaga again, he nods to you and wishes you well and says, I must return to my post. Fare thee well. So you guys go with Sprig. I assume you're going to follow him.
Yep.
So here we are. Welcome to Jedi Keep. I'm your guide, Sprig. Here, since you are the guest of Buriagi now, you have access to the Court of Air and Houses of Rest. This is where my accent starts to shift from Italian into Jamaican. I'm the Sprig. I have to say his name. That's how I get back into it. My name is Sprig, and you can also get into the Pillars of Pedagogy, should you need to be doing any research. Where can I take you adventurers first?
Gupt turns towards Aurick and Bidu and gestures that they lead the way.
Bidu looks at Aurick. Bounty hunter. Lead the way, bounty hunter.
What's the name of the book we're looking for? A Deep and Creeping Darkness?
Yeah, and because we gave the Book of Woe.
Okay, yeah.
And we're looking for the story.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what did you say? You say you're looking for the book?
Yeah, we were sitting here on a mission to find something for an employer.
Ah,
So
yes.
we need to gather some information and see if we can track this thing down.
Ah, well, yes, many people come here for the research. Some come to research the Force, others come to research star maps and locations. And yes, we have the Jedi Archive here. It is quite full of different tomes and holocrons and the different things you might need for your research. I can help you with this. Do you know which book you're looking for?
Yeah, we're looking for a book called A Deep and Creeping Darkness.
No, this can't be. The Force must have brought us together.
Yeah, mostly credits sent us here. If so, the Force has a strange way about it.
No, but you don't understand the personal part of the Jedi archives where we keep the personal stories. It is very low trafficked. Usually just Padawans like myself go in there. It is rare for people to know exactly what they look for to begin with, but you have a title and that is good. And beyond that, the Force brings us together because, well, I have read this book.
命中密码吧。
Give me a 5-page synopsis, 5-paragraph essay.
It is a very strange and bizarre book. It is a personal account, I think. The scholars took it as a donation, but they was not very interesting to very many people, so it got relegated to the personal histories as a more or less a diary. Here, let me take you to the archives. I believe we can look it up in the Stardew Decimal System.
So is this book still here on premise?
Yes, it is. We do not often let books leave the premises. Once they are donated, they stay here for a good long time, unless a master Jedi need to take them somewhere.
Aurick gives Bidu kind of a side eye when Sprigg says that they don't allow books to leave. Just a quick glance.
He returns just like a very subtle nod. He knows where this is going.
I lost the layer with the Jedi Archive on it. Okay, here we are.
That works.
Yes, let me look. It might take me extra minute, but all of the little librarians with the buns on their heads, they are usually busy with the children and such at this festival time. So let me help you, see if I can find a book.
While he's looking for that, Bidu's gonna be looking around and kind of perusing other books and maybe grabbing a few. He's formulating a plan.
Yes, feel free to look around and browse the books.
Gupt will turn to Aurick and Bidu and kind of form his hands together to let him know, stay close. We need to not leave sight of each other. I don't trust these people at all.
Bidu nods.
Yeah, Aurick nods. She's not super interested in the books. She's kind of keeping an eye out, looking around. She's not as uneasy as Gupt is. She's been to a lot of places like this where they're kind of jerks up front and then forget about you once you're in the city. But she wants to just stay on alert anyway.
Yes, here it is, just where I left it the last time I put it back on the shelf. The thing is, no one studies this book much because no one is believing that it is true or false. You can see some random passages here. All I could learn from the fleeing, sleepless nightmares of the collapse, fleeing every way. And here is another passage. 60 stuck in the collapse, the ore taketh back. Slowly, suffocatingly, mercilessly, deathily. This writer does not seem to be very good, if you ask me.
命中文案 common 必达吧. Common is definitely one of the worst languages.
He writes, were I a hero, I'd fly in to dig up the root and discover the solution, and keep the ore, of course. The story goes all over the place, but you can see from the passages, it recounts a very negative and desperate tale about a collapse of a mine. Many people lost their lives. Many people searched for the survivors, and afterwards it seemed to cause so much strife, so much of the dark side to come out in the people and their sorrow, that they began to run away, it seems, or disappear from the town.
Zomura, Zingavunga, Nota. Yes, well, sometimes there are truth to stories, and this one does not sound particularly good.
Does it say where the mine is?
Yes, in the back, it looks like the author who wrote it, he tried to cobble together a rough proximity of the location on the starter map. It is a crude drawing, but it does seem to have quite a bit of legitimate other planets and things on there.
With your knowledge of the galaxy and the Force, can you disattain this map?
Yes, can you see the map?
Yep.
As I hold it up for you. It is a map that shows there is a town nearby where this tragedy supposedly happened, known as Merin. But the tragedy itself is in the mountains, supposedly in a place known as Vermilion.
So it's on this planet.
No, you should not be so lucky. It is not an unreasonable amount of place to travel if you should have this starship and these such things to travel with.
Bingdomura. What planet then?
Let me look in the star charts. Let's go to check. You can cross-reference some things for you on star charts and finds that it is a moon, in fact, and it is only known as a number. It's kind of a generic moon. However, you do see that it corresponds to the star charts correctly and that you would be able to get there.
Are we able to make copies of these maps or like recordings? I mean, Bidu is going to steal it, but if he doesn't have to, he's not going to.
Yes, this is a place of research, so we allow you to make the copies of things that you need, so long as they are not very valuable Jedi scrolls that have the spells and things like this. So you could add this to your datapad, would be my suggestion.
Ding nona. Thank you. Bidu looks at Gupt and Aurick. Zingdongtunga winzawa do kabarai. Seems like we have some information to go off of. Do you want to spend any more time in this unsettling place?
Gupt very quickly nods his head no. The sooner we are out of here, the better.
Yeah, I agree. Let's get on with it. Time is money.
Okay, well, if you need anything else, just push your comment button while in Jeddah Keep, and Sprig will come and help you. But I shall leave you now. If you are headed back to the starport, that is all good. Simply take these papers, and next time you need to come to Jeddah Keep, we will get you in faster, with pre-approved from Boryaga himself.
I doubt we shall ever return.
Right. On the way out of walking towards the starport, as Gupt walks out the main gate and sees the protocol droid, he's going to turn towards him, look at the aggressor, that the scholar, and he's going to tell the Gupt, or tell the protocol droid, he's going to say, tell that aggressor over there that he needs to be more careful of who he chooses to start conflict with. I may not have survived that fight, but I can guarantee you he would not have either. And then he's going to just walk away.
Thank you for visiting Jedi Keep. Return at your leisure and enjoy the festival season. The droid is busy examining some other articles, as are the Jedi Temple scholars, and they pay you all very little mind as you leave.
Bidu wants to put a little sign on the protocol droid as they're leaving. He's going to use his little mage hand ledger domain to put a sign on his back that says, in Rhodian, I'm a walking piece of trash.
Okay, like a post-it note, old school.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a 17 sleight of hand, you're able to, well, actually, you describe it. It's successful.
Yeah, I think as Gupt is talking, Bidu's over listening, or just he listens to everything, and he's also a little salty about what happened. He didn't think it was necessary. So as Gupt is like lecturing the droid, he's using his invisible hollow hand thing to kind of put a little, or maybe he just scrawls it on the back with like a marker or something on the back of the droid that says, "I'm a walking piece of trash." It sounds more insulting in Rhodian.
The protocol droid feels a little sticky. He thinks to himself, it's time for an oil bath. So you guys know the way back to the starport. If you want to head off to the coordinates of the moon, which you found in the Jedi archives, or if you feel like you want to stop, I feel like we can do that. Whatever you guys are feeling.
Seems like a good stopping point to me.
Yeah, me too.
Same. Quick question though: from the list of jobs that there were on the side quest board, do any of them line up to this planet particularly?
Well, the one that we most were interested in was if we find a new vein, we get money.
Yeah, that was the big one.
Yeah, so the things that were on there, the two persistent ones are rewards for good stories in the DDG monthly newsletter, bounties for vein strikes with
percent ownership or percent of the yield. There are no bounties for wildlife clearing on this particular planet.
Bidu thinks of a headline. Jedi Order assaults visitors to Sacred Library. That's what he'll type on his data pad and send into the bounty board. Hopefully our RX was recording the whole altercation.
Yeah, I actually had him like positioned to flank if need be, so he was watching.
Boom. There's your story.
There's your story.
That's it for our second session of A Deep and Creeping Darkness, Adventure 4 in Candlekeep Mysteries. Join us next week as Aurick, Bidu, and Gubt blast off from this overly aggressive Jedi keep and on to their next lead. What kind of deep and creeping darkness awaits them on this remote moon? Hopefully not a space worm, but find out next week. Hop into your Discoga-issued starship and punch in +1 to gaming into your nav system for more live play episodes, character creation tips, and DM resources. Thanks so much for listening, and may the Force be with you.